What's up, everybody? We're live on TikTok. I wanted to come to TikTok today because I know I haven't really been producing too much content in terms of the Lakers series versus the Houston Rockets. Tonight is game number 6 versus the Houston Rockets. We didn't think that it would get to a game 6 versus Houston, but here we are. The Lakers started off 3-0 series lead. Now we find themselves up 3-2. And so what I'm going to do right now, guys, is actually I'm going to start recording the LA Sports Roundup podcast. I am starting TikTok first, but a little insight to how I start the LA Sports Roundup podcast is we're going to go onto Audacity here on my laptop. I'm going to hit record here, and we're just going to start talking about the Lakers series, the differences between games number 1 through 3, and then games 4 and 5, and we're just going to talk about what the Lakers have to do to close out this series tonight in Houston. All right, so we're going to get started recording the LA Sports Roundup podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining us here today, and we're going to start this in a second here. Hope you guys are having a great start to your Friday. It's the weekend. What are you guys going to do during this weekend? Please let me know down at the bottom. All right, here we go. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the LA Sports Roundup podcast. I am your host, Mike Andrade, sitting here recording live Friday, May 1st, 2026. I am your host, Mike Andrade. We're live, actually, right now on TikTok. Everybody on TikTok, say hi. We're recording because, I haven't done too much material on the Lakers series versus the Houston Rockets, and so I just wanted to, have everybody here on TikTok kind of experience what my recording style is. I know the LA Sports Roundup podcast is very much it's an audio only podcast, so you don't really get to see too much of my pretty face. And so what I want to do now is just let TikTok in a little bit behind the curtain here and just see how we start our podcast here. But on today's docket, we're going to be talking a lot about the Lakers series versus the Houston Rockets. Like I said, I haven't really been talking too much about this series. Just work gets in the way sometimes. I hate when work gets in the way of doing our fun stuff here, talking about sports, and then when it gets in the way of us talking about wrestling on our Wrestling with Ryan podcast as well. It's a little annoying. But getting back into what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about the Lakers series versus the Houston Rockets, some of the differences between games 1 through 3, and then what's been going on in games 4 and 5 for the Lakers. And then I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Rams. They had a draft pick last week, and I don't know, it seemed like not everybody was happy with that draft choice. But before I begin, guys, you're already on TikTok here. You're already seeing this beautiful face. But what I want you guys to do is, we've all had that girlfriend, maybe, or maybe you were that person that you maybe stalked their Instagram, you stalked their Facebook. Back in the day, maybe you stalked their MySpace, whatever it is. Either you've been on the receiving end of it, you've been stalked before, or you have been the stalker to your ex-partner. But this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to stalk our Instagram. I want you to stalk our social media pages. All right? You can be that crazy ex-girlfriend at Lace 'Em Up Sports. You can find us on Instagram. You're already here on TikTok. Okay? But just go ahead, find our Instagram. You can find our YouTube page. You can find our Spotify page. Guys, we're already on there. Okay? I want you guys to stalk that thing, subscribe to it, do what you can. Let's up our numbers because, hey, we need to get those bad boys up. Okay. I want you to be that crazy ex-girlfriend that stalks our social media pages. Okay. I need that from you guys. Can you promise me that, please? I need you to be that crazy ex-girlfriend that just is relentless, liking all of our pictures, all of our videos on our social medias. I need you to be that person for at Lace 'Em Up Sports. Well, all jokes aside, it is not a joking matter. The Lakers have lost 2 games in a row now. They were once up 3-0 in this best of 7 series versus the Houston Rockets. And guys, it has not been pretty the last 2 games. The first 3 games were something of, man, I couldn't believe what I was watching here. We had guys stepping up like Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard. He was stepping up. Those guys were all just they were filling the voids of Austin Reeves. They're filling the voids of Luka Doncic. They're filling the voids of other guys that we really, really needed them to step up, and they were doing their part. I mean, look at Luke Kennard in Game 1. What did he have, like 27 points? And then Marcus Smart in Game 2. And also Marcus Smart in Game 3. Marcus Smart in Game 3 was the hero of that game. I mean, my God, we don't win that game without Marcus Smart doing what he does. Hitting those key shots at the end, drawing that foul in, and then also that offensive rebound that he went up and got too. That was an incredible play by Marcus Smart. I kind of compare Marcus Smart to Ron Artest in 2010, because Ron Artest in 2010 came to the Lakers. He already had a somewhat tumultuous career. He was an all-star at some point. He had been, I wouldn't say beefing with Kobe, but him and Kobe had some squabbles back in 2010. And it just seemed like, that guy Ron Artest, he had obviously gone through the palace and the malice, whatever you want to call it. And he was trying to work his way back up into the good graces of the NBA. He signs with the Lakers in 2010, and man, he's the difference maker between us only winning one championship, and then the difference maker between us going back to back versus Boston in 2010. And Marcus Smart is that exact type of player. Obviously, this is not necessarily the type of championship team that was back then, but look at Marcus Smart has made a difference on this team all season long, and it was especially on display in games 3 and 4. And look, there's so many guys that can go out there and just, they can get rebounds and they can have their production, right? But then the way they go about it, kind of makes the difference, Look at Jake LaRavia can do his thing out there, but it's just if Jake LaRavia is just going out there and doing his thing, it's kind of like, okay, whatever, it's Jake LaRavia. But there's a certain spark and connection when somebody like Marcus Smart is actually just throwing his body around on the floor. It's incredible to watch. It really is incredible to watch. Look, I can't say enough about what Marcus Smart has done on this team. And look, he has been the difference maker and us even being up in this series. But with that said, look, we needed those guys to step up to give us a 3-0 lead, and especially in that third game in Houston. But that it was a relic in itself, because the last 2 games have not been good. I can give you a little stats differential right here. I cooked up here. I found on ChatGPT. Thank you, ChatGPT. See, this is what ChatGPT is for, just giving you the right amount of stats and things you need to make a little podcast here. All right, the scoring output I'm going to read. In Game 1, we had 107 points. Game 2, we had 101 points. Game 3, 111 points that went to overtime. Our average is 106.7 points per game. Efficiency and shot making, high-end individual performances. I hadn't even talked about LeBron James. I hadn't even talked about LeBron James in the first 3 games. LeBron James was carrying this team. I'll pause on the differentials right now. We'll talk about LeBron James. LeBron James, it seemed like he had kind of just turned the clock back a little bit in terms of the production he was making on the both ends of the floor, I would say, in games 1 through 3. I mean, look in that that third game, he was picking who was it that he was picking up on the both ends of the floor. I can't remember who it was. It might have been not Nas Reed Shepard, whoever it was. He was picking him up full ends of the floor, and LeBron James, he could do that at when he picks and chooses his spots. He can do that, right? It's obviously not going to happen 82 games throughout the season, but he could do that when he picks his spots. But LeBron James seemingly turned the clock back. I mean, he was leading us throughout, the first 3 games here and just carrying us, putting the Lakers on his back here. In game 3, he had 29 points. In those other games too, it looked like, this guy was he was doing it. He was doing it. And he was looking good. He was looking really, really good, and it looked really promising. And in fact, people were like, man, like, do they want LeBron James back next season for the Lakers? I don't know. I mean, look, a lot of people at the beginning of the season were like, nah, get this guy out of here. People were just done with LeBron James, because yeah, he looked old. He looked slow. He looked old. And it did not look like something that the Lakers really wanted to invest themselves into. But in games 1 through 3 in the playoffs, without Luka Doncic, without Austin Reeves, LeBron James was really just carrying the load for the Lakers. And not only that, I mean, he was really just involving his teammates to the point where he was making Luke Kennard look great. He was making Marcus Smart look great. It was in that game 3, you saw different possessions where it was like a 2-man game between him and Marcus Smart. That's how good LeBron James could be still. Look, in game 4, I'll just say this now, LeBron, he looked slow and old. He looked tired. There were a lot of tired legs in game 4. I mean, that was obvious. They had really just spent themselves. It looked like, and it still looks like, the Lakers are running out of gas. It really does. It looks like the Lakers are running out of gas, and it looks like the Lakers have kind of peaked themselves throughout the first 3 games. It just looked like the legs are just kind of gone here, and it looks like they don't really have much to give, especially in that game 5. I mean, it looked clunky and it looked awful out there. But I'll go back into the differentials here from ChatGPT. Games 4 through 5 in both Rockets wins, the Lakers had 96 points in game 4 and 93 points in game 5. I mean, the drop off there, the shooting. Obviously, it was the shooting. The Lakers could not make a basket in both those games. It was awful to watch. I don't even need to get into the stats there. I mean, the first quarter was okay. I mean, we looked pretty decent in the first quarter of game 5. I'm talking about specifically here. But getting second quarter, third quarter, halfway throughout the fourth quarter, it looked like dog shit. It really looked like dog shit. The Lakers could not make a basket. And even then, I mean, the team looked clunky. Now, I will say this, though. This has been a pattern all season long for the Lakers when they've had guys come back from injury. So obviously, Austin Reeves, who I'm repping today, he came back from injury game 5. He had been out for closer to a month with the grade 2, not groin sprain. What was it? Not back sprain either. Was it like torso? Whatever it's called. He had a grade 2 sprain in his back or wherever it was. Oblique? Was it his oblique? I'm trying to think now without looking it up. Anyways, he had come back. And this has been a pattern all season long where guys, if they come back into the rotation, the Lakers offense just drops for whatever reason because we're trying to integrate those guys back. And it just seems like all season long, the offense just drops and we can't get anything done. I mean, we can't score. The Lakers can't figure out who they want to be ball dominant. It seems like they can't figure out who they want leading with the ball in terms of, hey, this is your possession here, that's your possession there. It seems like when guys come back from injury, they just don't know what to do with the ball, and then they're left in situations, and you see it a lot. And I think I've seen this a lot in game 5 where the shot clock is down to 5 seconds, and the Lakers just don't know what to do. We had a couple 24-second violations there, and you cannot have that in the playoffs. You really cannot, because if you can't score the ball in the playoffs, look at it. You can try and play as good as defenses, and the defense has not been the problem for the Lakers in the playoffs. But if you can't score the ball, I mean, look, the Rockets are awful on offense as well. But if you can't score the ball, you're just not going to win. You're not going to win at all. I think we had, what was it, 74 points with 8 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter in game 5. I mean, that's awful. In today's modern day NBA, teams score 74 points at halftime. It happens all the time in the regular season. Obviously, it's not going to happen too much in the playoffs. We could the Atlanta Hawks and New York Knicks. So that's something different from last night. I think the Knicks were up by 50 in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a relic there. That usually does not happen in the playoffs. But look, if you can't score the ball in the playoffs, you're going to have problems. And the Lakers have had such trouble trying to maneuver scoring. And obviously, we're missing Luka Doncic out there. We're missing the best scorer in the game right now. He is the best scorer. He's the leading scorer in the NBA. Luka Doncic is, he's our best scorer, and he's the best scorer in the NBA. So without him, yeah, like it's awful. You can't figure out a way to get the ball in the hoop, and mix that with tired legs, mix that with LeBron looking old, mix that with guys not knowing where they're supposed to be, mix that with Austin Reeves, and we can go into him a little bit. It's not his fault per se because the guy hasn't played basketball in a month. Obviously he's an NBA player and the guy works his ass off, and he's a hard ass working player out there. And he knows exactly where to be. But, if you haven't played basketball in a month at this level, you're going to be a little rusty. And it showed definitely in game 5. Honestly, Game 4, we could talk about that a little bit, but I don't really even count Game 4 because I thought that was going to be a loss anyways, because we were still on the road. We had just won that incredible Game 3, and Game 4, I just felt like if we did win it, that would have been incredible. But I kind of just chalked that up to a loss. Game 5, that was a heartbreaker, man. We really needed to close that out at home, and for a lot of different reasons, the Lakers did not win Game 5. Specifically, it was clunky out there. We looked old, we looked tired, and we just could not shoot the basketball. And, look at Houston was not that much better out there. The Lakers have been the better team. They really have been the better team throughout this postseason so far. And so, but look at, you're not scoring the basketball out there, you're not going to win games. That's pretty much the simple truth. Going to shout out again people here on TikTok. Lakers tonight from Chosen. Absolutely. We'll get in tonight. Yeah, I think the Lakers do close it out tonight. This is Game 6 tonight. The Lakers are back in Houston, Texas for Game 6. And I think, honestly, I would be really, really, really surprised if the Lakers come out flat. I would be really surprised. I think they need to have a fire under their ass tonight. I think they have a lot of motivation to close it out tonight. I think this would... Well, we'll get into a potential Oklahoma City series in a bit, but you want to be able to close this thing out tonight. You do not want to go into, even though we're back home, if there was a Game 7, you don't want to put it into a Game 7 chances there. You don't. You want to be able to close this thing out as soon as possible. And the Lakers have been a really good road team this whole year. And so I think the motivation is there. I think LeBron James knowing exactly what he needs to do. Austin Reeves kind of just shaking off the rust a little bit will be a lot better tonight. I think the points do drop in again. I think the Lakers veterans will. I think they'll make sure that the Lakers offense is where it needs to be, at least. Obviously you can't control the basket going into the hoop, right? But I think they're going to try as best to have ball control, ball movement as slick as possible. The turnovers have been a major, major, major issue with the Lakers. I haven't even touched on that. I mean, I'm not going to read you how many turnovers they've had. They've had a shit ton of turnovers, and that's been a problem. They cannot have as many turnovers as they've had the last few games if they want to win tonight. That's just the simple math of it. You turn the ball over in a playoff game, it's going to lead to transition points, and then it's going to lead to you losing. That's as simple as it is. The turnovers need to be on point tonight. They need to keep that under 10 as best as possible. I know they've had that probably within the 20 range, probably the last few games. But, if they can limit their turnovers, they can hit from 3, that would be huge too. Look, I think, LeBron's going to know what he's going to want to do out there tonight. He's going to want to put the lid on this thing. Hopefully the lid's not on the basket, but he's going to want to, send the Rockets. Well, they're already home, but he's going to want to end the series. Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, I think they're going to be playing with, a little bit of fire under their ass tonight. I think Austin Reeves has a lot to prove out there tonight. He didn't look great in his, return game. And so I think Reeves will be definitely looking to be aggressive out there. That's just what you want to see. You want to see the Lakers being aggressive. If the Lakers are aggressive and they're being in control, hey, the chances are going to be that the Lakers are going to win this game. But if they're not, if they come out lackluster, if they come out without any sense of urgency, then it's not going to be good. I think I'm looking for two guys to have two guys to have good games tonight. DeAndre Ayton and Rui Hachimura. If DeAndre Ayton can have a decent game, and I would say DeAndre Ayton has had a really good series so far against Şengün. People may disagree. I've looked at it as a win for DeAndre Ayton. He's done his thing out there. He hasn't let he hasn't let Şengün, be a near all-star like he is. And he's really just covered him really well out there. And DeAndre Ayton, he's been successful on the offensive end as well. But I looked for DeAndre Ayton to carry that into tonight, and just be aggressive out there, catching lobs, running the floor. That's, defense, you obviously want him to just be glued onto Şengün as much as possible, just racking down rebounds and just running the floor. That's what we need from DeAndre Ayton. Rui Hachimura. I mean, this guy, he's been on the Lakers for 3, 4, 5 years now, it seems like. Not 5 years, probably, but like 4 years. Gosh, I mean, I've expected a lot of Rui Hachimura. And when Rui Hachimura is going out there, I can kind of compare him to what Lamar Odom used to do with the Lakers as well. When Lamar would get going out there, when he was aggressive on offense, when he was shooting the ball well, when he was attacking the paint, the Lakers were very, very successful. And it's the same thing with Rui, man. If he's aggressive out there, and he's confident in his shot and, he's attacking the basket and he's just not out there doing cardio, look, the Lakers are going to have a really, really good night. And if he's just kind of floating out there, well, then it's kind of like what the Lakers offense is going to look like. We really need, for the Lakers to be successful, we need DeAndre Ayton, we need Rui Hachimura to be really aggressive out there. And I would look for Rui Hachimura to score between 12 to 15 points tonight. Hopefully, we'll see. DeAndre Ayton, hopefully, double-double. And I'm not talking about in and out. I'm talking about getting a double-double on the floor. I think if those two guys can contribute the way we need them to, that'll be a good win for the Lakers, and they can close this thing out in Houston tonight. All right, TikTok. We're gonna end it right there. I hope you guys enjoyed my Lakers talk. Feel free to check out the rest of the podcast. We're gonna be talking about the Rams. Thank you guys for joining in today. Lakers hopefully will be closing this thing out in Game 6 tonight, and we'll see you on another live. Thank you.